Hello and welcome to another episode of Staying Power, the show that is all about building a better life. However you think we mean it, chances are we do mean it that way. We get together once a week to talk for an hour about one way to which we can build a better life. We hope it resonates with you, and we hope to give you some practical tips on how you can apply the things we talk about in your own life. And by we, I mean myself, JDK Winnikin, here across from me, with my friend, my co-host, my business partner, one of my favorite people on the planet, in any universe, Ashley Kniebel. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I like how every week you confirm that I'm still like your favorite person.
Well, you know, it's good. I want to keep you here, right? But it's not like I'm saying it because it isn't true, right? It's not all self-serving all the time. But nevertheless, happy to have you here. Thanks. So things are good?
Things are good.
Yeah, that's
tracking
good.
along.
That's good. Right. Well, last week, Ashley, we talked about fitness, and that was a really interesting conversation. And thank you so much to the people who've given us feedback on that. We really appreciate that. But I was thinking we could go a little bit of a different direction today. And as listeners know, Ashley and I are both human potential coaches, and that is part of our lives, and among other things that we do. And I had some interesting experiences with clients over the last week or two that I noticed a common theme. And I wanted to perhaps talk about it with you today, Ashley.
Okay.
As we know, when we do coaching with individual clients, they come to us because they want to improve something about their performance, quote unquote, in life, right? It could be in the job, it could be in their personal health, it could be in just their outlook on life, reducing stress and anxiety. It could be all those things. One of the things I noticed this past week with clients is a battle going on with a lot of them of knowing when to let go of something. Right? To whether it be a relationship or a point of argument with somebody or a dream or a job. It could be a lot of these things. And the reason why they weren't sure about when to let go is because they were worried that by letting go, they were taking the easy way out. Sure. Or were compromising their own sense of self, or were swallowing their own voice, if you will, or their own opinion. They were really concerned about things. And it occurred to me as I was going through this and noticing this, commonality, that as people do this kind of coaching or any kind of growth, they can start noticing these types of things, right? Of, okay, well, I used to do things this way, but I don't want to do things the way I was. That's why I'm in coaching in the first place.
Right.
How do I know when is it okay to let something go and when is it not? So essentially, it occurs to me, the concern is between how do I discern when it's the right time to let something go and when am I avoiding instead doing something else?
That's such an interesting thing for your clients to mention. I mean, because that particular perspective already sounds like that they have done some growing or they're very self-aware, which if they are listening, congratulations. Because because the fact of like them thinking, am I taking the easy way out? Having that cognitive thought and even giving it any sort of consideration is huge.
Yeah.
As opposed to taking the easy way out.
Correct. And that's a great point. And it's one that in a couple of instances I highlighted with different words. But yes, the very fact that you're aware that this could be a possibility or this is something you don't want to do by itself is a win, right? Because so much of what we talk about in coaching isn't always, it's very rarely about us positing solutions.
Right.
It's about having people notice more of how they do things, what their patterns are, how they might do something different or how they're feeling differently in a certain situation than they used to. And then ideally, and inevitably, in my opinion, they find their own answer, right? And sometimes you don't know, of course. Sometimes a decision has to be made and you go with the best decision that you can make
Sure.
right at any given time. All right. So does that make sense to you
I think so.
as a topic? Okay. Well, to start with then, is there a difference between, like, for you, Ashley, what would be the difference between taking the easy way out and quote unquote letting go?
Taking the easy way out, I think I would feel guilt.
Okay. Guilt, why?
Because if I were taking an easy way out, that insinuates there was more I could do that I chose not to do because maybe it was uncomfortable, or I felt it would take too much effort and the outcome wasn't worth it. Something of that nature.
Okay.
Whereas letting go, to me, it feels like something has concluded and it is the only option at that point. Like all other efforts were tried.
Okay.
Or all other efforts that felt right and aligned with me and whatever the thing might be that I'm trying to do or whatnot, is if I'm letting it go, then it is not serving me in the way that maybe it did in the past, or maybe I outgrew it, or, something of that nature. But letting go to me actually feels more positive. Got
it. That's very interesting. And I think that is a very good dividing point. I think it brings up a couple of things for me. And it wasn't a test by any stretch. I was genuinely interested in whatever your answer was. No. I like doing that to you sometimes.
I know.
It's fun.
It's okay.
But you always do well with it.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I think what I like about what you just said is, yes, there's more of a sense of finality, right, with something. And I think two things come to mind with that, if we're going to follow that out. The first thing is knowing what your values are, right, which is a common thread with a lot of our clients. We do a lot of values work with them, right? So and in fact, now that I think about it, every one of these clients has done values work already. So they have a better idea of what their own values are, right? And how do these things match up? That's one. But second, also, you mentioned things that they used to do that have either not panned out, or they are no longer willing to do, or they have seen enough evidence of it not working that they don't really feel like they need to try it again. Right. Okay. Was there any sort of certain context that you were thinking about when you brought that up? Were you thinking about like a relational context or anything like that?
I mean, I guess relational, sure. I think we've all been in a relationship at some point where we weren't sure if it was time to break up or not. And if it's not completely volatile and you thought the person was still a good person, that you fought to do what you could do as a good partner to make it work or make it last on your half of things. And at some point you wake up one day and you're like, that's it. Like, I have done everything. And it's not to say it out of like anger or anything. It is actually like a quiet settling usually of like, this is done. Yeah.
A quiet settling. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, and I've said to clients before, I said, what if you get to the point where you realize or you feel like you don't have the energy or the desire to continue with something anymore? Is that good enough reason to let go? And wow, that's a really tough question for a lot of them.
I mean, I would say it probably depends on the context.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
What would you say to that question?
I would say there isn't something. If you don't know the exact reasons why you're no longer willing to put the energy into something, or you want to let something go and you don't necessarily know the reasons, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I'll let something go. There needs to be a recognition that either way, in holding on to something or letting something go, there are consequences for that.
For you and for
that thing or person, if it happens to be another person. It could actually be a habit, right? Or it could be a practice, or it could be a belief, right? It could be a community. There's lots of things. To recognize what the possible consequences are and ask oneself, which ones am I more willing to live with, right? Recognizing, too, that the answer may be uncomfortable either way, right? And you and I, if we talk about one thing over and over and over again at the core of coaching and the core of this show, building a better life relies upon learning how to become more comfortable with discomfort. So what we're talking about is not when is it okay to jettison discomfort, right?
Sure.
What we're talking about in this episode is a refinement of that, because we do have to make choices, right? That's why discernment is such a powerful word, I think, in this. Discernment doesn't say what is the right choice and what is the wrong choice. It is what is the best choice, or what is the least objectionable. What is the most, as you said, most aligned or most congruent choice. In order to do that, you have to know what you're about, and you have to know what it is you're willing to tolerate, and what discomfort are you willing to tolerate instead, right? In the case of a relationship ending, it's the discomfort of no longer having the good things with that person, or the comfort of that, or the habits or the routines, or all the things that go into that, right? The good feelings, the security, all those things. Maybe that's not important anymore, or not as important as some other things. So yeah, I would say to them, you don't necessarily have to know the reasons. You might want to spend some time with the consequences.
I think that's wise.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it. Those are inner conflict questions, right? If I let this go, am I giving up? Or if I keep pushing, am I being strong? Am I following through? Or am I just being stubborn? Or am I being afraid to let go of something? I think those are all big challenges, right? So some of this comes, I think, from some of the challenges with this. Every single one of my clients that I've talked to about this, all see themselves all as very high performing people.
Okay.
Right? And people who want to be doing more, building more, this type of thing, have big grand visions for their future and things like that. And one of the things they talk about, and there's a future episode based on this, but they speak oftentimes in sound bites, social media sound bites.
Oh.
Right? Or bumper sticker philosophy, as we've called it before, right? Quick sayings, right? Sure. On things like this, right? And we live in a culture these days, social media driven, where hustle culture, right, as it gets called, perseverance has become almost moralized. Like you're morally upstanding if you quote unquote persevere, when we don't even really necessarily know what that means, right? Or we aren't agreeing on what it means.
Sure.
Or even like identity-based endurance. We have to endure because I identify this way or something like that, or I must do this, or I must outlast somebody else, right? This kind of thing. That's what we show, right? And that's not really what resilience is, no. Right? So that's part of the challenge. There's also this idea that I think we internalize sometimes, this idea that suffering by itself is a virtue. Like the more we suffer with something, the more virtuous we are. The more we wrangle with something, the more in touch we are. When I sometimes wonder, is it really that worth holding on to if it's causing this much, the type of questions like, should I let go of this?
Sure.
Doesn't the very fact of asking the question indicate something isn't sitting
yes.
well?
Well, and when you are wrestling with something like that, sometimes I find that at least it comes across that people are doing it so loudly because, like you said, they want some sort of recognition. This is difficult, and look at what I'm going through, and look at what I'm persevering through, and I'm struggling with.
Right.
For some sort of attention or some social nomination.
Right. Or proving something to themselves.
Something, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which now, maybe proving something to yourself, depending on what it is, may not be so bad.
Maybe. Unless you are staying in something that isn't good for you.
Correct.
To prove a point.
Right. Yeah.
Who are you trying to prove it to?
Yes.
Right. I've asked people this before, not so much clients, because I don't think they would like the phrasing, but with friends, like, are you sure anybody's keeping score on that other than you? You know?
That is a really grounding and awakening question, because sometimes people need to see that, and that's why they go to coaches or they go to great friends like you, JD, who have the ability of seeing, what is it, that phrase that you have, the bark from the tree? Oh, you
can't see the forest for the trees. You can't even see the tree for the bark.
Yes, where you need a really sound. I've just heard you say it. So
I know. I think I stole it from somebody.
If there's credit from somewhere, good for them. Thank you for the saying. But, there is something about that of trying to get another perspective. And those people in your life that will ask you very sobering, chilling questions like that, where your initial response is to either lash out or to stonewall or something like that, I think actually is something that you should pause and actually take a look at, because it means it hit home somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's a home that you have chosen not to observe and look into yet. Some windows you should probably peek into.
Yeah, even though it's uncomfortable. Yeah. And because you might see something there that is a little bit more clear, right, than anything else.
Well, and in all of this, at least the hope and the idea is the whole point is to improve, or to get better at something, or to remove something that is holding you back from getting better.
Right.
Whatnot. Like if you're seeing something uncomfortable, it's something that needs to be addressed. And just because it hasn't been addressed yet isn't the problem. It's now that you're aware of it. What do you do about it?
Right.
If you ignore it, that's a problem. If you're like, this is really uncomfortable, I don't like this, but I'm going to take steps to, 1, address it and name it, and then 2, figure out what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah.
That's the right path to go.
It is. And if you don't know, and what I have with clients when they say they're not sure what to do, I suggest they observe it for a while. Mm-hmm. It's an open-ended question if you think about it. How do I know when it's time to let go? Or if I should? That's an open-ended question. That is not a yes or no answer. Mm-hmm. That is open-ended. And so to observe things, right? Because we can feel this pressure to either stay in something or to just get out of it, right? Yes. One way or the other. Whereas staying with it sometimes and observing it, noticing what comes up, sometimes is the option that they least want to follow, right? Because people want to have the clarity one way or the other.
Yes. Well, and like we've said many, many times before, people are in that instant gratification. I want it now. Yep. I want the discomfort over now. Yep. I want a conclusion now because I don't like wrestling with this every day. And if it's like an example, if it's like relationship or a job, and I agree, observe it. When you start having long-term issues and you're like, I don't know if this is for me anymore, start taking maybe like little notes of like how you're feeling or what's happening on a continual basis and look at the theme and look at the trend of it. And if that was someone you care about going through that, would you advise them to stay?
Yeah.
Because you are your own friend, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
And it would be good to just observe the trends.
Yeah. Yeah. Observe the trends on one hand. And then I would add to that, if you have a different vision, what is it? Mm-hmm. And how much of that could you find in your current situation? Mm-hmm. And how much of it might have to come from another place because whatever it is, that job, that person, that situation just hasn't shown that they're going to be able to provide that without it being a fault thing, right? Yeah. And making a decision. I think there is that, because the idea that we should just endure for the sake of enduring doesn't work. The science behind it is really, really clear. If you don't have meaning behind why you're enduring something, it is going to lead to burnout, resentment, and your nervous system is going to crap all over itself. Yes, right? You're going to fall apart. And so on one hand, letting go can be seen as weakness, because it doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't look heroic. Some people will just be like, oh, well, they just gave up. And certainly if it's another person, they might be, oh, they just gave up on me, right? Or whatever. And yet, if one does so, there may not be the immediate, that was the right thing to do, or that was the wrong thing to do. No matter what our choices are, we are going to have the opportunity to learn from them, right? And if it's a mistake, then you make the decision. Is it, go through the discomfort of, should I undo that mistake or should I try to undo that mistake?
If I can't, I got to own it and keep on going.
Right. Consequences. Okay. All right. Well, we've established the topic, Ashley. When we come back from our break, we'll dig into some of the science behind this, a few other things behind it. And then later on in the show, we will do our weekly segment. This week, it is 2 Minutes of Terror. So you'll want to stick around for that. Come on back here in a minute on Staying Power.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Are you ready to discover remarkable stories of resilience and cultural connection? This is Diaspora, a show sharing the journeys of first-generation immigrants from the Indian subcontinent now building their lives in North America. Inspiring, insightful, and always engaging, Diaspora offers a unique perspective on the immigrant experience. Join me, Aditya Mehta, my guests, on the Diaspora Show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. right here on KKNW.
Alternative Talk 1150, local talk for the body, mind, and soul.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hi.
And we're talking about figuring out when it's time to let something go. And Ashley, we probably didn't answer that question in the front end because we talked about the discomfort and all the different things involved in that, right? And of course, we can say this is unique to each person in each situation. However, I think what we are doing today is highlighting all the different ingredients that go into all
Sure,
this, right? How
sure.
to do all that. All right, so let's dig into some of the scientific stuff here, right, with this. And there is a type of therapy called ACT, which is acceptance and commitment therapy, which can be used. We do not do that as coaches ourselves, right, because we're not therapists. But this is a way of helping people who, like myself, oftentimes are perfectionists and will always want to make the right choice. And sometimes that can keep a person stuck in a situation that isn't good, or it can prevent people from starting something new because they want to make the right choice all the time, right?
Yes.
So there's something like that. And it really articulates the difference between avoidance and acceptance. So what do you think of that? What's the difference for you?
For me,
Well, or in this, we can go there
kind
too.
of mentioned this earlier, but avoidance is, you're fleeing the discomfort or you're stepping away from it so you feel more comfortable.
Right.
Because, and it's human nature. Nobody wants to sit in discomfort for extended periods of time, but sometimes that's where you learn the lesson.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes that's the slog you need to go through to really determine what you want and what feels right for you.
Yep.
In the now and the long term.
Right.
But I would caution not to just avoid right off the bat. Like, recognize this is uncomfortable. Okay, I'm going to actually stay here for a little bit. And that decision, that discernment, and that observation alone, at least for me, it settles something in me. Because it's like, I feel like half my body is like, don't you understand? We're in an emergency situation. We need to get going. And the rest of the body on board because we need to go. And then there's the other half of me that's like, it's okay. This is not emergency. We're not on fire. We're okay.
Right.
We don't have to flee right now.
There's literally not an
We're
emergency.
okay. Yes, this is not an emergency. We're going to be okay. And we're going to sit here for a little bit. And then there is something that calms down.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden your body's recognizing like, oh, they know that this is an emergency situation, but it's actually not as bad as I created it to be.
Okay.
And our brains do exaggerate things because they want to protect you from fear. It's designed to do that. So it will create whatever idea in your brain to get you to move. But if you tell yourself, actually, no, I'm going to override this thought. We're okay.
Yeah.
That I would just suggest, because I have done that myself personally. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah. Imagine that. I mean, that's a subject for another day. Not every thought that comes into your head has to be entertained as real or feasible or necessary. That's an interesting one. We'll have to do that. But your idea with acceptance, what's interesting, that's what you're talking about, right? You have the avoidance and the acceptance. You're actually really close to what ACT really talks about, right? That idea that you're fleeing discomfort, right, with avoidance. You're fleeing discomfort. Acceptance is making room for discomfort in the name of your values. So I wonder, in situations like that, what personal value of yours are you upholding when you just accept that? Go, okay, I don't need to run from this, right?
I don't know if I could name it right off the bat, honestly, but
I could. Perseverance.
if we want to be in line with what's going on online. But I mean, okay, sure.
Right.
But that's not, that doesn't come to mind because I don't want to be like, oh, I'm going to persevere through this. So that's what I'm
For the
doing.
sake of it.
That's not what comes to mind.
Right.
And that's why I don't know what I would name as a value, but there's just a part of me that's like, give it a chance. Give you a chance to figure it out.
That is discernment. Really. Yeah, absolutely. And you have the capability of doing so. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That
And
will
not
flee
to
from
say it's easy, because I have certainly been through over probably even like the last 2 years of moments exactly like this, where I'm like, should I leave? Should I stay? Am I in a good spot? Is this healthy? Over a multitude areas of life. And in each of them, I stayed and I waited and I observed and I took notes and a lot of things. And I came to some very good conclusions. And I'm so grateful that I didn't just bail on whatever it was, that I stuck out the discomfort, because in it, I found the wisdom that I really needed to then make the decision of like, okay, this is concluded. It's time I leave. Or no, actually, this is something I can work through. and it's going to be better on the other side.
You know, it's interesting you say that because I've ridden on that emotional elevator with you on 3 or 4 of these different things, and I can attest to the fact you have done that.
Yeah.
You have done that. Exactly that, which means you are able to handle discomfort. You said the key. You had the discomfort, you weren't sure what to do with it, so you observed. That was it. And that's values-based action, right? That's all of that. All this work, we've talked about it before in other episodes, but I love the work of Stephen C. Hayes, Hayes, for those of you who want to look him up. He emphasizes the importance of psychological flexibility over just rigid endurance all the time, and then values-based action over attempts to control one's emotions.
Ooh.
Right. We've talked about here on the show before that if we operate just on whatever emotions we're having at any given time, we're just going to be blown around on the wind, right? Whereas knowing what our values are, what matters most to us are the things that can be the bedrock no matter what the emotional situation happens to be. And you're right. Sometimes that's a lot easier said than done. You know, particularly when the emotion we're feeling is particularly powerful or around something that matters a great deal to us, right? And I've seen you do it in the ones that mean the most to people. So there's a resilience person sitting across from me. She's quite good at this. But what I love about his work is it emphasizes in the neuroscience of the whole thing, unresolved conflict by itself keeps the nervous system in threat mode, which means you're constantly looking for something to run away from, something to attack, or something to hide from. It's not about resolving the situation. But as opposed to letting go, when we do it, what it can do is it can restore cognitive clarity. We can emotionally regulate a little bit more, right? Calm down. And it improves our physical health. So it seems to me, one of the things we could ask ourselves in wondering whether it's time to let go, how's our cognitive clarity? Where are our emotions? And how is it affecting our physical health?
Those are some really, really good points. I mean, we chuckle, but for maybe somebody who hasn't heard that before, that's really valuable. That's a really good starting point. And it's tangible. It's feasible. It's not difficult to take those into consideration. Yeah. And it will give them the feeling of like, okay, the situation feels out of control. But there is a level of control that I have. Yeah. That I have. Choice. In it. I have choice. I have a governing in this. Because a lot of times I think that's why it is confusing of what to do. Should I stay? Should I go? Great song, by the way. But just saying. The Clash, baby. Right. All right. But is like they feel like they don't have a choice. Yeah. That somebody else needs to make the choice for them. And so they just look at all the people that they tell their story to. Oh, man. Who's going to give me my decision? Right. Somebody else make it for me because I don't want to make the wrong one. Right. I don't want to carry the responsibility and the guilt or whatever I'm going to feel for making a decision because I know it's going to have a consequence I may or may not like. Yep. But if somebody else made it for me and I'm just doing what I'm told, then I don't have to carry that burden. I can mourn whatever it is or I can celebrate, but I don't have to carry the responsibility for it. That is so true. And that's a rejection of their agency, and it shows deep doubt in their own capacity to handle the consequences of whatever decision. Yeah. Right. And that's really what we're all about, right? On this show and in our coaching and in a lot of ways actually in our lives. We're about where's your agency and what's your capacity? First of all, we'll say, chances are both of them are bigger than you realize and more available than you realize, right? And you don't have to engage in them perfectly. You can make mistakes. You can make choices with agency that turn out not to work out and you look back and go, okay, that didn't quite work out. But you also have the capacity to withstand the consequences and the feelings that come with that. Well, and it sounds weird, and if you're really going through it, this will not probably land very well, but it's awesome that you have choice. Because growing up, parents made the choice for you. That's right. Right? You go to school and the academics, your professors are making choices for you. Yeah. You get out of those situations and you're in the world and you're the only thing governing you. You have ultimate choice over everything that you do in your life. Yep. And a lot of times people will be in situations and circumstances and they do not take the ownership and the responsibility of like, well, what did I do to contribute? What could I have done to make it better? Yeah. Did I totally own my side of the street? Most often, no. They don't. That's true. Most often, no. That's true. Because they don't want to look at those ideas and that side of it. They just want to look at the problem. and they don't want to look at themselves.
Yeah, because that's difficult.
Yes.
And that brings up difficult emotions.
But sometimes that's where the problem lies. Not always, but sometimes something contributed to where you're at. And maybe that's the decision that you put yourself in the situation or the environment.
Right.
That might have been the only thing that you did. And
Right.
it just turned out that was not so great, and you only found out until later.
Exactly. And so much of this, too, to expand on this even further, if you're avoiding emotions, difficult emotions from that, chances are you're telling yourself stories about what that means. Mm-hmm. And so there's all these things. This emotion tells me that this is happening, or this is going to happen, or if I end this relationship, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life, or blah, 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 whatever those might be. All those things take us out of cognitive clarity, emotional regulation, and affect our physical health, right? So asking the question, rather than letting go being seen as a retreat, if it feels like it'd be a regulatory act that would restore cognitive clarity, emotional regulation, and physical health, that might be an indicator that it's time to let go of something.
Very true.
Yeah. And here's the irony with this too, with the same studies, okay, the same work, Stephen C. Hayes. What's interesting is when you apply this then in relationships and attachment, social attachment theory and research, it helps create healthier boundaries because you start thinking about them, right? In a lot of ways, that's what we're talking about when these things come up with clients. Where is your no-go beyond this point, right? Or where's the decision made? Interestingly enough, even though we'll wrestle with these things, it actually leads to higher levels of empathy, right? And relational stability. Maybe not in the relationship you might be giving up, but in all the subsequent ones or all the other ones that you happen to hold on to. It actually leads into that. And of course, the final piece that I want to stress with this is if all those things, cognitive clarity, emotional regulation, physical health, are all being affected, staying too long in something, quote unquote, not only erodes those, but also erodes our self-respect. And we feel an erosion of self-respect everywhere. We feel it in our thoughts. We feel it in our bodies. And if you're doubting that, if you struggle with self-respect, how do you look at yourself in the workplace? How do you look at yourself in the mirror? What things are you saying to yourself, literally, in those situations? And so we're not talking about letting go of something for comfort's sake. We're talking about letting go of something for coherence's sake, right? Coherence about who you are, what matters, what's most important, and where you want to go, right? And to me, I can't think of anything more important, even if it's uncomfortable as hell.
I mean, wouldn't it be so great to know that you have such strong conviction on your boundaries and your moral code that no exception is made ever?
To get to that point, for
now,
sure.
That means you might lose situations and possibilities with a person, a job, a location, whatever it might be. But the fact that like, I don't care who they are, they do that, they're not coming inside these walls. No.
Yeah.
Hard line. I don't care if they're the most idolized person in the world. They do that crosses a boundary. No.
Yep.
Because then you always know that you're going to be okay and that you're within the safety of what you decided is right and correct and available in your life.
Absolutely.
And you can trust yourself on that, because waking up and not trusting the mind that you live with every day is a scary thing.
It is.
Because if you can't trust yourself, who else are you going to trust?
Nobody.
You couldn't.
You can't. Yeah, it's an inside job. It has to start there first. I use the analogy for myself. Well, it's not a perfect one with that type of thing. Who gets in and who doesn't? As who's across the moat. You've heard me say this to you before, right? Who's across the moat? As if I'm the castle, right? And then, of course, envision the castle. There's the moat. Then there's the trellis and the gate that opens up across. Who gets to come across the moat? Not everybody gets to come across the moat, right? Yeah. It also doesn't mean that other people outside the moat are my subjects. That's not how I view it either. Okay, I'm not a king, right? Not a king. But it's meant of who's inside. And I've said it to people before, and I've said it to you. Anybody who's on inside the moat, who I've let in, who fits all those things, are aligned with my values, help me improve my life, are trustworthy partners in whatever way they are partners in my life. And that's how I view my relationships, as agreed upon partnerships. With those things, who are those people? And it's not everybody. And it doesn't mean people who aren't in on this side of the moat don't have value. It just means I ride out of the castle, right? To visit them, right? To visit them, to
on
stay
your
with them,
steed.
right, on my noble steed. But that's something that I think, and what I tell those people that are inside the moat is, look, you have the right to ask me something. I said this to you just the other day.
You did, like 2 days ago.
Yeah, like 2 days ago. And just, we don't have time to go into it. But Ashley was concerned I was a lot more quiet than usual. And she was like, well, I think I might wait and just see what happens.
Sent up the rocket.
Sent up the rocket emoji. And I answered. Very rarely. All right. Anyway.
Had to find it.
All right. Well, we'll pick up with this when we come back from break. But when we come back from break, we are going to do our weekly segment. And that this week is 2 Minutes of Terror. So you want to stick around here. Come on back and join us to talk more about when is it all right to let go here on Staying Power.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Chris Erdman. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs, creative minds, and game changers to uncover the real stories behind their business. On my show, Made of More, we explore the challenges that they've overcome, the breakthroughs that they've celebrated, and the mindset that drives them forward. If you're ready to unlock your full entrepreneurial potential, Made of More is the show for you, because here we know you are made of more. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW.
Alternative Talk 1150. Talk radio for the body, mind, and soul.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley. Hello. And we are talking about letting go. And again, a difficult question on when to let go of something, when to stick with something. But hopefully we've articulated a little bit more of what we mean. And we'll spend the rest of this segment talking about some practical ways that you can address this in your own life. But first, it is time for our weekly segment where Ashley and I each take 2 minutes to talk about something that's happened in our week and share it with each other and with you, all in the name of vulnerability, connection, kind of modeling what we're talking about here every single week. This week, it is 2 Minutes of Terror. Terrified shriek. Wow. Yeah, oldie but goodie. That was the original.
Oldie but goodie is classic. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you know what? I finally had one of those moments. And it wasn't like I'm proud to say that I had one of those moments, but I don't know, haven't pinpointed it yet in real time. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I finally had something hit very close to home where I fell into a conversation with somebody that is close to me that edged on a political matter, which usually I do not entertain politics that much. Mm-hmm. But it was something that hit really close to home. And it was the first time that I felt this real burning desire to speak up and have a conversation with this person. And it was not a comfortable one.
Ooh, I bet not.
It was not.
I bet not.
It was a little strange for a second. I'm like, can I even have this kind of conversation? Am I prepared? Like, do I know enough? Because if I'm going to go into something like that, I want to make sure I have good factual knowledge. You know, I'm just not riding on an emotional conversation. Mm-hmm. I really want to make sure that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Use multiple sources and really have some stuff, you know, to really, really rely on before stepping into that.
Yeah.
And it was the first time.
Ooh.
It was spicy.
So I assume that by how you said that this was a question of the other person not giving you stuff that had a lot of factual support?
Yes, and that was actually part of the frustration and all the things that came up around it. Is it wasn't necessarily that we had opposing views on this. It was the fact that I was like, all right, we're going to do this. Let's go toe to toe and talk about this. And it wasn't an argument. We weren't yelling at each other, but we had opposing views. And I'm like, let's talk about it. Mm. And their side of the street had no fact, no statistic, no nothing. It was just like social media reels and things that they have, you know, spliced together to create something that supported them. Now, if they had fact and statistics and things to like resources and whatnot, that'd be one thing. And I'm okay with having that conversation and having us still leave the conversation two separate sides of the street. But the fact that they were just spouting off things was so frustrating. I'm like, how are we even having this conversation right now?
Ooh. So has this resolved itself? No, it has not.
No, it has not.
Right. So so talk about discomfort. That's interesting.
So I'm like, should I leave the conversation? Should I stay in the discomfort? It's very, very timely.
Oh, it is. Oh, you buried the lead early on in the show. We could have been talking about this the whole time. Anyway. All right. Well, actually, it's interesting, Ashley, that's yours, because I have a similar one.
Really?
The very thing you've talked about is driving me crazy writ large. I can't say I'm having a conversation with a specific person on this, but my terror for the week is I think I've hit my limit on what I'm willing to tolerate from social media telling me about what's going on in the world.
This is true.
And I mean this by both sides that I completely disagree with, depending on the subject, and even people that I generally agree with, right? I've seen it a lot recently, and it doesn't mean that the things that are happening to kick all these things off on social media don't matter or we shouldn't be paying attention to them, whether they're political or not. There's a lot of things going on. We live in a time of real change. And I speak as a historian who has studied the world for a long time. We are going through one of those larger periods in world history where some things seem to be fundamentally changing. And some people are really okay with that, and some people are not. And for me, where the terror has come in, quote unquote, is there anything I need to say or do more beyond the platforms like this show and other things like that to talk about this a bit more? I don't know. There's some discomfort in that for me. I am someone who pays attention to what's going on in the world. I do not believe, as many want to say, that you can't do anything about something happening way over here or way on the other side of the world, so you shouldn't worry about it, right? We live in a world that's connected enough via social media, economic means, and things like that, that ripples on, a crash on one side leads to ripples on this side. It's like when an earthquake happens in Japan, we have to worry about it here in the Pacific Northwest if there's a tsunami, right? There are effects, right? Cause and effect. And yet I don't always know where I fit in on that series of conversations. I have expertise. I have experience. Do I talk about that? Do I not? And of course, interestingly enough, ironically enough, the best way, the easiest way to engage in that is ding, 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 social media, which I'm already saying is part of the problem. So I don't really know what to do, but this week I kind of hit like I have had it with this. And so I am stripping back a bit. Not that I do a whole ton of it. I have enough to keep me busy, but man, it is becoming less and less. It's becoming so clear. AI, right?
Oh, geez.
Bad actors, right? Fake accounts, all these types of things spitting out there. And then, like you're talking about, people who just believe it because it happens to be on their feed.
Yes.
Right?
And they find multiple things on their feed.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, it must be real.
And then the algorithm keeps feeding that to them. So that's all they see.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. It's a stacked deck. It's a shell game. So you know what? That might be a future topic.
Should I write that one down?
Yeah, I probably better write that one down. We've got a bunch of ideas for topics. All right. Okay. Look at that. This is the brain trust. This is what happens. This is what happens.
This is how topics come up.
Okay. All right. So Ashley, in the last part of today, let's talk about practical examples, practical things people can do on this question. And we've sort of tipped on a few of them, right? What are some of the things you'd be asking yourself?
Build a moat.
Yes.
Build JD.
Right. All right. So let's talk about what we could call some internal diagnostics, right? That people could connect to, right? And we've listed a few of them that we can kind of go back and forth with. So let's talk about some of these. In the choice of whether to let something go, what the first one we could say is staying in this thing, is it aligned with my values or is it aligned with my fear?
Ooh.
It's kind of what you were getting at earlier, right? That, again, recognize that these are all open-ended questions.
Sure.
Right? So, and what kind of fear are we talking about? It could be fear of conflict. You don't have that fear, I don't think, of conflict. Right?
I do not.
I historically do, right? Fear of disappointing others.
There would be a couple.
Yeah, a couple, sure.
But for the majority, no. But there are very small handful.
Historically for me, also strong. Historically for me. Or a fear of changing one's identity, whatever that might be. Like I'm known to be with this person or I'm this, or I'm in this
I find
job.
that exciting.
You find that exciting?
Yes.
Yeah, you do actually.
And actually, I am, as much as in my terror I was mentioning, this is like the first. There's so much curiosity about it.
Okay.
Because I'm like, have I just evolved as a person enough that I'm starting to recognize that my little world is so much actually greater than what I see every day, and the cause and effect, like you said,
Okay.
is it may not be affecting my little world, but it affects the big world that I live in.
Got it.
And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, there is a change in an identity. And it wasn't something I woke up and decided on January 1st. It just happened.
Okay.
And I'm very curious about it.
So if there is a fear, seeing as you're not, any of those three don't apply to you, is there a fear that would trip you up? Do you have like an internalized fear?
At least at present time, the fear that I would have, we'll just use this as an example because I said it was somebody that is close to me, is obviously if they're close to me, I care about them. They matter to me. And the question in this is, if I take this at length and they take it at length, does that mean we go our separate ways at the end of it? And do I want that? Is this important enough for me to continue holding, like planting my flag in it?
To stay in.
Yes.
Okay.
If that concludes that we no longer have a friendship or relationship or what have you. You know? And so there is a little bit of fear in that, to be honest. It's like, how far do I take it? And how much does it matter?
So maybe the fear of staying too long is on your side.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Yes, you could say that.
That makes sense. Okay. So that's one way, right? Are you staying because it's aligned with your values or your fear? What are some other ones, Ashley?
I would say, am I becoming more grounded with this? Like, what is this actually doing? Like, observe, like we said, observe. But is this helping you become more grounded or diminished by staying?
Ooh, it's a good one. How do you tell the difference? You just talked about something that would be applicable there.
I would observe. Well, to be fair, because this isn't something that you can answer right away.
Yeah,
especially
it takes time.
If it's new. It takes time. And at that point, you can see, is it starting to erode?
Right.
Is it starting to bleed into every part of my life? Is it really starting to affect? Because if it is, then maybe that is time to like cut it and just conclude where it was at and whatnot. But if you feel like it's planted something good in you or where goodness can come from, maybe all of a sudden you have found a passion for something. You found a desire. You feel an internal responsibility and you're being called to it.
Yeah.
And this is your calling.
Yeah.
Because that can be something where it's born out of something tumultuous, something uncomfortable. You know, they use that phrase like, what, a phoenix is born out of a fire or whatever.
Yeah,
like you might find that you have a calling and it came out of something.
I like that. What you're talking about is almost like an expansion of energy or growth. If you're experiencing growth and not decay in something.
Yes.
Right? Or if your energy is increasing and not contracting. Yeah, that seems to be one. We mentioned earlier self-respect. I think that's big. Is this thing increasing your sense of self-respect or self-worth, right? Or self-confidence, or is it reducing it, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it quote unquote should or not.
Well, and it's you taking the stance of a individual that truly is owning the fact that they are an individual and a grown-up that has influence, that has ability that maybe you've never seen yourself have before.
Yep.
You know, you're like, oh, well, who am I to make that stance? Who am I to say something like this? Well, who are you?
Right. You're you.
If you're asking that question, you might as well answer that question. Who are you?
Right.
Are you somebody that can? And if not, do you want to be?
Right. And then how do you choose to be? What actions do you take? And what are the consequences of that?
Yes.
Right. All those things. Right. Another question that comes to mind in making this choice, are you enduring pain with meaning or tolerating harm without connecting with your agency? There's a big difference. Are you enduring pain or are you tolerating harm?
It's a big question.
Enduring discomfort might even be a better word.
Sure.
Right? Because there is a difference. You can be uncomfortable and have it not be harming yourself. And it can be a real subtle shift, right? Well, I don't want to jump out of this just because I'm uncomfortable. Yeah, but is it harming you emotionally, right? I see it a lot, particularly in relationships, right? Where people are wanting to stick with something because, well, relationships take time. They take discomfort. Yes, they do. And that does not mean that harm is what you are supposed to endure, right? Because then that sacrifices yourself for the sake of something else, right? Now, it's easy to spot on the outside looking in, very much so on all of that, right? Okay, so that's one.
Regards to, I know we kind of went off on a tangent compared to where we originally started with our topic about in something, if you should be staying, if you should be leaving
Right.
it, whatnot. But I would impose people to ask and really look at something is, if nothing changed and if everything stayed exactly as it is right now, what would be the consequence or the cost in a year, in 5 years? Would it matter in a year? Is this thing so large that it would totally change the direction my life goes? Or is it so small that it's not a big deal and we would forget about it in 3 months? Is it so impactful? Like, try to measure the amount of impact it would have, because your life is not a joke.
Yeah.
You get one shot and you don't even know how long it is.
Right.
So if you're like, this is going to be so taxing on my one life that I have that I don't want it to affect me for 5 years.
Yeah.
Or even a year, whatever. If this was your last year, is that how you'd want to spend it?
Right. Oh, that's a great one.
Maybe you're like, this is worth it.
Maybe the answer is.
Maybe
right.
it's worth a shot, or maybe it's not.
Right.
But to give yourself that kind of sobering question is like, is this worth it if this were to cost me so much?
Yeah. Your health, your relationships, your sense of self, right? All those things. Ooh, I like that one a lot. Okay. All right. And we're coming up to the end here of this episode. So a couple things that I want to make sure we stress that come from some of the sources we've talked about, but also from our own experience and what we talk about as coaches. Here's some important clarifications. One, letting go does not always mean cutting someone off. It does not always mean quitting immediately. In fact, it very rarely is that, unless it's like literally there's severe harm going on, right? Or it also does not always mean declaring failure, that it's a failure, right? Just because something ends doesn't mean it's a failure.
No.
Either of whatever it is or on your own part. Sometimes what it means, this is the flip side, it means releasing expectations, which oftentimes is the key thing here, another possible topic, changing your role with something in your own life, accepting that there are limits to things, and then redefining success.
I think those are incredibly valuable and probably the most important thing you've said this entire episode.
Wow. Most important thing. I better say them again then. Letting go does not always mean cutting someone off, quitting immediately, or declaring failure. Sometimes it means releasing expectations, changing roles, accepting that there are limits, and redefining what success is and isn't. Yeah.
That's
So
really good.
Yeah, it's just more to discern, more to wrestle with.
More to talk about.
All right. Well, thank you, Ashley, so much, as always, for all of that. That was really great. And thank you to all of you for joining us on this episode of Staying Power. Remember, if you missed any of this episode or would like to catch up on our other episodes, you can get this as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. There are also a number of video episodes up on our YouTube channel. And you can also find out more about us at 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle, our radio home. In all those locations, you can find different ways to get in touch with Ashley or with me, including stayingpowershow@gmail.com. And we have more things coming on the horizon that we'll be talking about in the weeks ahead, different ways to interact with us and to participate more in this community that we're building. We'll be back next week with another episode talking about another way in which you can build a better life. And we look forward to seeing you then. I am JDK Winnigan.
And I'm Ashley.
And we will see you soon.